Beats, how are you today? So I haven't been here for a while. I've been searching out extra special holistic practitioners and people of interest that can give you different ways on how to heal. So this channel is all about learning different ways to heal, alternative, complementary healing modalities so that you can have your best, healthiest self. Today I have another special guest. This is Destiny Pendarvis, and she is owner and founder of Egyptian Eyes. Her store is located in Smyrna, Georgia. She is an intuitive life coach, author, and so much more. And she'll tell you more, and that's why you're here today. So, hello, sister, love, Destiny. How are you?
Hey Sharon, nice to meet you on your show today. I mean, we've met before, but nice to see you on the show. Thank you for having me as a guest. I am really excited about this. So, hey, audience.
Wonderful. You know, Destin and I met. I went to her store. She has a beautiful store called Egyptian Eyes. And on her website, I love what it says because her name is Destiny. And she kind of plays with it. She says, Egyptian Eyes, your destiny awaits you. I love that. So, and
Yes.
tell us a little bit about what inspired you. Two things. What inspired you to call the store Egyptian Eyes? And then what inspired you to even have a store?
Those are all great questions. So, early on, I was always interested and fascinated with the Egyptian culture. And I actually started my journey in the makeup and beauty industry. And when you take any kind of like makeup classes, they teach you about the culture of makeup. And the Egyptians were actually one of the first cultures to actually write about how they adorn their faces with makeup. And so I was doing that for a while, and I always was struggling with anxiety. And then I suddenly got into crystals, and then I found out that they worked. And I was just wearing a bunch of crystals, just for myself, just to help me with day-to-day anxiety.
Right.
And then I started making jewelry because it's cheaper to make your own jewelry in most cases for the stuff that I wanted as much as I wanted to wear.
Yes.
And then when I was going to my makeup gigs, people were asking me, where did you get that from? And I was like, oh, I made it. They were like, oh, can you make it for me? So before I knew it, I was like, I need to take this more seriously. So I started making jewelry for other people, but I was still doing makeup under Egyptian eyes because, again, I was fascinated with their culture. They were like one of the first to document makeup. And then once I switched into getting into metaphysics, I learned, oh, wow, where they were also the first culture to document the metaphysical uses for crystals, and they were extremely spiritual in nature. And Egyptian eyes could also be kind of like a double entendre for seeing spirituality the
Yes.
way that the Egyptians saw it. So it was one of those names that kind of was multi-purpose and I could still use for what was near and dear to my heart. And so I did. So that's how the name came about. And then why I wanted my own store. That's a long story. But the gist of it is basically when I was on my beginner path, like when you first wake up and you realize, hey, there's this whole other world out here.
Yes.
And you don't really have a whole lot of resources to go by, in terms of, okay, you can go read some books, but what do you read? Like, what am I experiencing? So I started to go on this quest to figure out why am I having dreams like this? Why am I seeing things, etc.? Why do I know things? And so I started my self-taught journey and just researching a lot of stuff on YouTube and reading books and reading on crystals. I would go to these stores. The staff didn't know anything. There are a lot of people that are in this industry and they don't actually know
Right.
anything about the metaphysical side of this, which I find kind of frustrating, especially as a beginner. And so, as I was going to the local spots to find things to craft my own pieces or decks to purchase, I just was like, man, this is so cluttered, disorganized, just a host of things that I didn't like. And you know what they say? Well, if you don't like it, fix it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get my own store. And it's so interesting because in today, I've been here 3 years, but in today's world for me, I mainly deal with a lot of newcomers to spirituality or newcomers to wanting to grow their experience with knowledge on crystals, herbs, candles, etc. And they find it, I think, a bit relieving that there's someone who's passionate about this stuff, actually lives their life this way, and can nurture, their quest for knowledge. So that's how I came about having my own location. And when I do talk to people about manifesting, I can say, I'm a living testimony of that because I started buying pieces like retail equipment maybe 4 years before I knew how I was going to get a store. I would just see stuff. I would go to businesses that were closing and I just had a storage unit. I was like, I'm gonna sit this here because one day I'm gonna have a store. And I was paying storage on retail fixtures for like 3 years before I even found the spot. So I would draw diagrams of how I would put everything, what I would sell. I mean, I would just do this all the time and just release it and go, one day that's going to be me. And then I just started looking at places, didn't even have the money, but like, oh yeah, let me look for this. Let me see if I can get something. What does it take to get in here? And then before you know it, God created that opportunity for me. So that's
Absolutely.
the short version of how I got here.
And actually, I would even say that you created it because you are the living testimony of what it means to visualize. First of all, you set the intention, you
Hmm.
visualized it, you were working on it. It wasn't blind faith. You were like, let me go ahead and collect what I need to put in this store until it manifested. And so you asked the
Absolutely.
universe, and it gave, you just did it, and it's
Hmm.
given to you. So I think that's a really beautiful testimony. So for our viewers, heartbeats, as I call my viewers, that you notice her way of doing it, her pathway. She thought about it. She was in this situation and she didn't like what she saw. So she said, I'm going to do something about it. She set the intention. She started to collect all the information and things that she needed for it because she had full faith that she was going to get it. I just think I love that story. Thank you so much. I got to find out some of the nitty gritty, but I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean,
Can
that's
you
the gist of it.
share
And
it?
you're welcome. And honestly, it's kind of one of those, it's one of those one-offs where it's not like I did all this research on the laws of attraction and I knew the right steps.
Yeah,
It was this inner knowing that went, well, you can do this. If they can do this, you can do this. Like if anytime I go somewhere,
yeah,
and there's somebody in a position of power or authority or just in a place of hierarchy and I have a conversation with them and I don't feel like they're on my same level or
yeah,
that there's more that I could probably add to this, I go, well, shoot, if they can do it, I know that I can figure this out.
yeah,
And I think that's pretty much everybody. So
yeah.
I would say everybody has a niche, everybody has some creative thing that they could do that if they just tapped into it and had the confidence, a big part of it is confidence and full faith in it, they would manifest what they wanted to.
Wonderful. So let me ask you, metaphysical store, tell us what's in your store, what type of product
Nice.
and services you have there.
Absolutely. So at my store, again, it's Egyptian Eyes. We're located in Smyrna, Georgia. We're off of Spring Road, very close to the Braves Stadium. And even in that, let's be very clear. I'm a Smyrna native. The elementary school that I went to is on the same street. The house that I
Okay.
grew up in is a few blocks away. So this is a big pride and joy for me to be a pillar of the community and to walk up and down these streets as a kid and dream to be right here where I was raised at. But in the store, I sell a host of products like healing crystals, gemstones. People ask what the difference is. I can get into that later. But I sell sages, herbs, um, baths. I have my own bath buffet where you could come in and you can create your own mixes. You can create baths or teas. I have services that I offer, like readings. I do tarot. I read the energy from crystals. I also am clairaudient, clairvoyant. So I give a lot of insight here. And I do have other practitioners that offer different spiritual modalities from Reiki to iridology to just depends. I have small suites in the back that are available for lease on a monthly basis or a more permanent basis if you're interested in that. So I do a lot in terms of every facet of spirituality you're interested in, whether you need to read a book on something, whether you need to learn about the candle colors, you can pretty much find it here.
Yeah.
And I consider myself more of a boutique because it's not always the same products. It's different type of inventory every other week. We do different events here, all of that. Like even this weekend, I have the psychic fair, which I call the Healers and Seers Fair.
Oh,
So
wow.
you could come here and you can get discounted readings. There will be other practitioners in the building that read tarot or ruins. I'll have some Reiki practitioners here offering discounted services on healing, and that's this Saturday from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. So we just do different events here, and anyone interested in learning more about what the actual products are, I would encourage you to just come and check us out.
Good. So let just for those, depending on where this when this interview airs, we're talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
February 15th and 16th of 2025. However,
Yep.
you do give these healers and seers fairs. Is it once a month? What is it?
Yes,
Third
it
month, fourth
is.
month, fourth month,
It's the third weekend of the month, and
third
it's
weekend
one
of
day
the.
only.
Oh, it's
It's
one
that
day.
Saturday. It
Okay.
used to be 2 days, but I feel like that's a bit exhausting for all parties involved.
Yeah.
So we'll just do Saturdays from 12 to 6, the third weekend of the month, unless there's some major holiday that trumps it. That'll usually be when you can expect to come to an event like that here.
All right, so you heard it here. I encourage you all to go visit Egyptian Eyes in Smyrna. It's an easy ride right near the stadium, not too far from the highway. So I've been there, and the energy when you go into the store is like a breath of fresh air. You really do feel that there is a spiritual connection, and she does the work. So it's not only talking, she cleans out her space. She makes sure the space is dust free because anytime we're doing spiritual work, it should be clean. There shouldn't be dust and dirt that you see in the space. And you should be greeted with a wonderful, welcoming, how are you type thing. And that's what happens when you go to her space. So I wanted to talk a little bit about crystals. Tell me the reason why is because in your on your website you give she gives not one, not two, but three free downloads, ebooks. So I got to talk about it. All right. And she gives
Gotcha.
one where she talks about the crystals and how to clean crystals. See, a lot of people are buying crystals and, as you said, don't know the difference between a crystal and a gem and what is a real crystal, because some of them they got acrylic good stuff that they call crystals as well. So
Mhm.
I'd like for you to kind of educate our heartbeats on what are crystals, and her download gives you her favorite crystals and their meanings. So I encourage you to check that out. So let's talk a little bit about crystals.
Okay, so crystals, that's the heart of my mission. And I started this journey like most people, being a non-believer, like this is crap, it's a rock. What do you mean? And then I found that it actually works. And so people go, well, how does it work? What is it healing? And the main thing is it's science. So like you have frequencies, so do I. I give off energy every time I speak or do anything. So do these stones. The difference between the stone and us as a people is based on what happens to me throughout the day and my emotions, my frequency will go up and down. It'll change throughout the day. Whereas a crystal, it's an imminent pulse, just like your heart beats at a certain pace. And the easiest way to explain that is like if you go to a nightclub and the bass is like bump, 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 you'll notice your heartbeat starts to syncopate at
Synchronizes.
that same,
That's
yeah.
right. Hmm.
Yeah, and so that process, I believe, is called entrapment, and that's how the crystals heal. Your body will start to syncopate at the same pace of whatever that crystal vibrates at, or whatever the frequency is of that stone. And each different stone has a different vibration, and so it's important, like you said, to clean them because they're not going to change their vibration, but just like a cell phone, it might eventually dwindle in how much energy it puts out if it's not charged. So people ask, how often should I clean a crystal? Well, some people do it routinely, like each week, but I mainly tell people anytime you have a significantly emotional event, it's time to clean that crystal. So you can clean your crystals in a multitude of ways. The most important thing to know first is what type of crystal are you working with? Because some crystals don't really do good in water, but the reality is a lot of crystals you don't need to clean with like water and salt.
Salt, right?
My preferred method to clean a crystal would be smudging it with like sage or a Palo Santo or putting it in some just a bowl of salt and just pulling some of that energy off. Another hack is purchasing like a selenite bowl or a selenite plate
Yes.
because the selenite wands or selenite in general is the only crystal that you don't have to clean. It automatically purifies itself and it vibrates at a great pace, so where there's nothing you need to do to alter the energy of that. You can just sit your stones on it or your jewelry or buy a bowl and place the items in that dish at the end of the night or however so often. But that's one of the ways or a few different ways that you can clean your crystals. And basically, as long as the stone is near you, on you, or around you, you're going to experience the shift of the vibration that stone is giving. So when we talk about placement, an easy hack for a lot of people is to wear it in jewelry. And so a lot of people you'll see, we wear the bracelets, we have the necklaces, and they're at certain parts of our body because not only does it send energy there, but it's on us and we don't have to like put a lot of thought into it. It's there, it's still going to work whether you want it to or not. Again, I learned all of this as a non-believer. So you can put it on certain points of the body to experience healings, or you can come to me and get a crystal healing session where you'll lay on my massage bed and I'll place stones around you to help emanate energy in those areas. So people do it like that. Sometimes people hold them and meditate. You can place them in your car, under your pillow, just, as long as it's around you. Does
Yes.
that make sense? Okay.
It does, and it's important that you know the meaning of the crystal so that it's actually doing what is intended, what you intended for it to be. Can also hold and bless your own crystal with your energy by saying your prayer as well. And just as you said, I get my clients home, my little recliner there, client, you get to lay out, and we use crystals for grounding and healing your chakras as well.
Mhm.
So that's a whole nother story. That ain't about me, it's about destiny. But I had to,
No, but
you made me think about that, exactly what I do. So there are
Mhm.
different type of crystals with different meanings, and she has listed her favorite as a free download when you go to her website, EgyptianEyes.com.
Boutique. It's Egyptianized. I have two websites. So the one you're talking about is EgyptianizedBoutique.com. And that's where you'll see the handouts or the downloads you can get for how to sage, how to clean your jewelry, and just how-to tips or knowledge about crystals. All of that is on EgyptianEyesBoutique.com. Now, at the top of the year, well, really at the end of last year, we launched a sister site, which is called Egyptian Eyes Emporium.
Yes.
And so on the Emporium, that's my site for those of you who want to purchase in bulk or you're looking for specific, more unique items that I may not carry in stock, but I house. So that site is Egyptian Eyes Emporium, and I have a catalog of over 5,000 different types of products, from statues to candles to a larger herb selection, a larger crystal selection, and candle selection. So that's where you would go if you need something more unique, like a specific shaped candle or a type of crystal that's kind of rare. You can find it on there. So make sure you put both of those links down. And another thing about crystals, because when you said it's important to hold them, bless them, or pray over them, exactly. When you come purchase stones from me, I do bless them all before I give them to you and I sage
Yep.
them. So that's one thing you don't have to do immediately. But the other thing is I like to tell people, and this is the best way to shop for a crystal. The crystal is going to choose you. In most cases, the less you know, the better. Um, because as soon as you go to that stone, you're going to find that there's certain ones you can't let go of, or you keep being drawn to a certain area.
Yeah.
And so that's how you know the crystal is choosing you. And then when you come to someone like me who happens to know what they all mean, I can tell you, well, you're probably experiencing something like this, and that's why you're drawn to it. And people are often floored because the crystal does choose you. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the best way to go about it.
Yeah. I actually do that when I'm choosing it. I kind of breathe and put my
Hmm.
hand around it and kind of go. I always choose my crystals with my left hand for receiving.
Yep.
And so it is exactly what you needed. And that's the power and the mysticism of crystals. And I read a fun fact that I didn't realize because I know what diamonds do and the other usages of diamonds, but I did not know that diamonds were in a saw. So then, my mind started
So,
going, oh, this is how they cut the stones back then, and yeah, so
no, I mean, there's a lot of things
a
that
lot of great
people
history
don't
there.
know about crystals. And just like you said, did you know that clear quartz is how your watch ticks?
Yes.
Did you know that that's how your computer stores
Yeah.
information? And that's how your lighter, when you flick a lighter, that piezo electricity,
Yes.
that's how they're doing that with quartz crystals. So it's often funny to me when I run into someone who has like a preconceived notion about the negative connotations that crystals have, because it's like you're using them every day and you
Every
just don't
day.
even know the
You don't even
properties of
realize it.
them.
That's
But
right.
they'll go to Zales and spend $2,300 on an amethyst ring.
Yeah.
That's a crystal. That's a gemstone,
Yeah.
right? But Zales is not going to tell you, well, amethyst is good for spiritual protection, intuition, breaking habits. They're just going to say it looks pretty and it's expensive, but you're going to pay for it not knowing what the spiritual properties of that stone is, like
Yeah.
a rose quartz or like a diamond or like
Yeah.
an opal. So it's really funny to me how we have access to so many things and our lack of knowledge is so minimal
And this
in
is
terms of the
why
effects.
Destiny, this is why I do these interviews so people can get a little light from the reason why, maybe things are in vogue right now and why people are picking up crystals and what's the true uses of those. Even candles. Candles have become a big industry now, lighting candles, but they may not realize that the colors of the candles also have a particular purpose on them. So you got to stay tuned to learn more about that. But yeah, and when you go to
Absolutely.
Destiny's store, Egyptian Eye, you can ask her and she would tell you more about the candles. But you did talk about intuition, and I know that you're an intuitive life coach. So tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So, I've always hated the term psychic, because it's been blown out of proportion so much, and there are so many people who will read a tarot card and call themselves a psychic.
Yeah,
So I like to consider myself as an intuitive coach, but by modern day terms, it's a psychic, right? So I do believe that everyone has the ability to access that inner intuition, that inner knowing. But some people work the muscle more than others, and some people came into this being of existence already being activated in a way to where it's easier to access that information. So, me being an intuitive coach, I do help people with all areas of their life, whether that is love, relationship. Another big one for me is small business. So, I help a lot of entrepreneurs figure out what their niche is, ways to grow it, how to monetize it, etc. And then we have the other aspect of that, the spiritual side that says, is this a good time? Is this the right way to set it up? Is the energy of this in high vibration enough with you to make this thing flourish? So we look at all of that. Um, but in being intuitive, I've had that gift since I was a kid. It's just one of those things where I dismissed it like, well, maybe I'm just, a really good guesser, or maybe people just like talking to me. And
yeah,
it's a coincidence that when they ask me for advice and I tell them something, it comes to fruition.
yeah.
So the main thing I want to make people aware of the difference between someone who's an actual intuitive or a tarot reader
Mhm.
is when someone just knows tarot. all they're going to be able to pick up is whatever the clinical or author's meaning is of those cards. It's a
Yeah.
set system of
Yeah.
78 cards. And, the Fool card, people associate that with taking a risk or being careless, one of the two. It's very vague. And they can usually just tell you the exact meanings of the cards. But when you're dealing with someone who actually has an intuitive gift and insight, I'll be able to tell you other things that I'm actually hearing from spirit that could bring you a lot of insight and clarity that's specific to you that no card is going to have written. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Right.
So, when people come to me for readings, they often have reached a part in their life where they know that they need help, and spirit will just send them to me. So I've been doing readings for a very long time professionally. I would say over 10 years or so. But I've had the gift my whole life.
Mm.
Um, and it's just it's a blessing to have, but it has nothing to do with me. This is just something that God has blessed me with. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that.
Yeah.
Because he's the leader of my life and how I offer my gifts to the world. I want to make sure I'm pouring love and insight from a divine place.
Yeah.
And that's also important when you seek out spiritual healers. You need to know what their intent is and who the essence of that person is. So
Mm.
I pride myself on integrity, morality, and just being honest, because you will get these woo-woo people out here that will tell you, oh, yeah, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody put a curse on you and you
But
need to pay me a
Destiny,
thousand dollars and I'm gonna fix it.
Destiny, how do you make that discernment? Because there are so many charlatans out there. Everyone's calling themselves an intuitive, a shaman, a tarot
Mm-hmm.
reading, a reader,
Mm-hmm.
and they are just collecting the money, and they are actually just reading the meanings of the cards, which can get. You can look it up, and you can get the meaning just because they pull that. But to be able to pull the card and really see how it impacting your
Implies.
life,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you can, and the person yourself will say, oh yeah, that's real true, that's true,
Yeah.
that's happening. And so how can you tell the difference between someone who has the gift and doesn't?
I think that's an amazing question. And the easiest way to tell that is, have you ever walked into a room and just instantly not liked somebody or felt uncomfortable? You don't know why, they haven't done anything, they haven't said anything,
Yeah.
but the hairs on your arm are standing up.
Yeah.
You feel anxious, you're ready to go, you're
Yeah.
nervous, you're
Yeah.
overwhelmed. So I think the best piece of advice I can give you, although everyone doesn't believe they're so intuitive, everyone is intuitive and everyone picks up vibes, everyone picks up energy. It's just you trusting it.
So,
So to know if you're dealing with someone who has the gift or not, you could do it in a multitude of ways. The first would be, how do you feel? When you come in contact with this person, do you feel calm or do you feel anxious? Do you feel scared? Do you feel nervous? Do you feel threatened? These are things to, how does your body feel when you come into contact with somebody? You should do this, whether it's someone off the street or if it's a healer. How do you
that's
feel around
right.
this person,
Yeah.
right? So you want to check your energy first and go, how do I feel? Oh my God, I feel good. I feel safe. I feel at peace. Like when you said, when I come into your shop, I just feel, a sense of ease.
Yes.
She blesses things.
Yes.
That's energy,
Yes.
right? And thank you for that compliment, by the way. But yeah, it's that. And it's also do your research. What do their reviews say? How long have they been doing this? What can you find out about that person without them telling you?
Yeah.
Um, and it's that outside of just trusting your own intuition.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are going to be some people who are flawed and taken for a ride. And honestly, on my Instagram page, I suffered with this the first 2 years of me being in business. There were a lot of scammers recreating my page,
Wow.
spelling my name wrong, sliding in folks' DMs, telling them that something was wrong with them and that they needed to cash app them to fix it. And I would
What?
luckily, yeah, this happened. Oh my God, I could say maybe 400 or 500 times, maybe. And people were actually thinking that it was me because they weren't paying attention to the name. They would repost some of my content, but not all of it. And they would spell, instead of it being at Egyptianized Boutique, they would spell it at Egyptianized Boutique, but they would put two E's at the end of it, or two U's in there, or two S's in the I's. So at first glance, you're not noticing this
Right.
isn't even her page,
Right.
but I done slid in your DMs and said, hey, I'm feeling a sharp pain from you. something is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like just complete
Yeah,
nonsense.
another big scam. We
But
get
another thing in that though, for the parties that were impacted by that, it's, hey, does this feel right? If you know me and you've come to my store, would I slide in your DMs? Isn't this quite strange that they're asking you for money but don't want you to pay you on my website? Some of this we got to kind
mm,
of take accountability for
eligibility.
ourselves.
Makes sense. Yes, yes, yes. Makes sense.
Uh,
You use a terminology that a word that I want to pick up on before we get ready to end. But you wrote a book
mhm.
and have a coloring book. I love how you put it. It's creativity meets self-care. And it's a book around, or is it a coloring book that's around anxiety? Because that was part of your journey. If you could just share a little bit about that for us.
Got you. So, yes, the name of my book is actually Calculating Calmness. And in that book, the subtitle is Easing Depression and Anxiety, right? And the way that I came up with this is these are tips that I've used along the way to help myself cope with the angst of society and just always feeling different. Obviously, I'm very different, but learning how to blend in and not be so overwhelmed with society's expectations of who I'm supposed to be and how I'm supposed to think,
Yeah,
and the methods that I use. So, yes, in that book, it is adult coloring pages because it is scientifically proven that when you color, it kind of takes your mind off of whatever it is you're stressed about because you have to put so much emphasis on staying in between the lines. And
right,
that moment, your attention and focus is centered on, let me make this neat and pretty. What colors do I want to use? How does the whole
right.
picture going to look?
Look,
So
yeah,
that's one additive in the book, and I'm a creative, so I love anything with paint and art. So I had to put some coloring in there. Um, but in the book, I also created some journal pages because when we process our thoughts out loud, sometimes we don't have someone we feel comfortable sharing our inner or deeper or most interesting comments or concerns with.
yeah,
Sometimes we just need to talk to ourselves, but that's weird. So we need to put it on paper and look at it and rationalize with, why am I feeling this way? What is causing me to be stressed? What is causing this sadness? What am I missing?
yeah,
Coupled with some affirmations. So I've got affirmations in there. I have a spot where you can create your own. I've also listed some of them. But the affirmation method that I think is most profound is the 3, 6, and 9. 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times before you go to bed, calling in what it is that you want to manifest. And then I have tips on there for sound baths, excuse me, sound frequency, how that impacts the body, science behind that. Again, that is a service you can come seek me for, but those tips are in the book too. Aromatherapy also is in the book. What scents that you can smell to give you an immediate shift or a sense of calmness or safety or serenity. And then I talk about crystals as well. So this book is intense. It's a big workbook. You can purchase this on my website, which is EgyptianEyesEmporium.com and EgyptianEyesBoutique.com. Or, well, let me be clear. If you buy it on my website, you can actually get a signed copy because I'll be shipping it. Or if you come in the store, I'll be giving it to you and signing it for you. But you can also buy it on Amazon if you're not local. And I can ship it that way too. You just won't get it signed. But in the book, it's 365 pages. So it's a big workbook and it's not meant for you to sit there and skim through it day by day. Studies show that the average person that suffers with anxiety and depression has about 4 days a month. So we could say that's once a week or twice every 2 weeks where
mhm,
they feel like they can't get out of bed or they're so stressed or they're worried.
yeah,
And this book is for those people who have the bad day, who did call in a sick day just because they don't want to deal with people,
yeah,
because they are worried or
yeah,
unconfident. And so the book is designed for you to pick up that book and just go to a page. You can decide, do I want to color? Do I want to do a mood tracker about why I feel this way? Am I going to focus on my affirmations to shift this mood? Am I going to do some of the suggested exercises to help me with my mood and my feelings in this moment of my lowest self at the
yeah,
moment? So it's meant for you to have a tool that you can go to pretty much to get you through the whole year. And that's what a lot of people don't know about the book because it's designed not only to help you in this moment, but to to help you in the future. Because if I'm starting to implant different methods for you and suggest different exercises for you, it'll only take a moment of time before you can start incorporating this day to day and you won't
Mhm.
even be in
That's
this
right.
funk.
That's right.
So it's for that. And then also, let me be very clear, I'm not a clinical psychologist, I'm not a licensed therapist, but I do have a lot of life experience, and my track record shows the things that I'm drawn to, or the things that I'm in that I teach, and what's in this book are methods that I've tried, methods that I know to be true that have been successful for me, and I'm just sharing them to you guys. So, of course, if the things in the book are not getting you through, I'm not saying you're going to be healed or anything, but I have a resource pages in the back too that list different groups you can join, different hotlines to call, just different places you can go and be amongst people that can give you an extra lift of care and guidance as well.
That is wonderful. That it seems like that is a full one-stop shop. That's your metaphysical store, all in 365 pages. It's
Absolutely.
wonderful, and a lot of those are scientific evidence-based. And so it's good to try it. And I'm referring my clients to it. I'm buying
Thank you.
one, so I will be up at one of your
Thank you.
sites so that I can also share that with my clients as well, because it is very helpful. And I do use a lot of those modalities. So thank you for sharing that. The book is really designed to help you unwind and stay calm and help you to regain control of those feelings of overwhelm. And so I
Absolutely.
invite you to go ahead and check out the book on at EgyptianEyesBoutique.com.
Yes.
So before you, I was going to ask you to give us a tip, but it sounds like your book and your website got a whole lot of tips.
It's
Okay.
got all of that.
It got
Everything is
all of that.
everywhere.
Also, I didn't mention the third thing that giveaway in on her website is talk, because you hear a lot of people smudging. What is smudging? How do you
Hmm.
smudge? So she does have a download about smudging as well. So you need
Hmm.
to really check this out. And so as we leave, thank you again so much for the wonderful information. I always ask my interviewee
Hmm.
3 questions. How do you
Sure.
take care of your heart physically?
Well, honestly, until I brought you on as a guest on my show, I just learned how to thank my heart and ask for forgiveness.
There you
So
go. I
I
love it.
just learned this, like, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago when you came onto my show. So thank you for that.
Oh, tell them your show again.
Oh, my podcast is every Thursday night on YouTube at 9. It's called Egyptian Eyes After Dark. And I also interview like-minded spiritualists, and they talk about their healing modalities and how we can raise the vibration overall.
See, it's all about sharing and caring. She had me on her show. I'm having her on my show. And we invite any
Absolutely.
of you healers or those that you know that are practitioners, come and talk to us and
Mhm.
let us get your viewpoint. Let our people know that there are healthy, holistic ways to heal. And that's our mission in a nutshell, as we learn daily, as we are students of the universe, students of truth, students of this
Yeah.
wonderful world of metaphysics. So
Yeah.
emotionally, you thank your heart. Do you do anything physically to take care of your body?
Physically, besides meditating and the occasional exercise, which that's a whole nother story. Um, physically, besides like drinking teas, I'm also a vegetarian. I don't encourage everybody to be that. I just know what works for me.
Yeah.
So but, I was talking to someone earlier. It's about what you're feeding yourself and what you're
Mm,
telling yourself.
yes.
What you're telling yourself is just as important as what you're feeding yourself. So that
Yeah,
would be my tip.
absolutely.
How are you talking to yourself?
Love
When
it.
you're
Thank
having a
you.
bad day, how
Yes.
are you uplifting yourself? Is
Yes.
telling yourself in the mirror that you're stupid or you're a failure going to help you succeed? No, you need to be saying, I love you. I'm proud of you. We just got to get through today and tomorrow will be so much better. Or, just
Yes.
pouring love into you.
That's right. And using those affirmations. And remember, she gave you a hot tip that it might have skipped over some of you, but it didn't skip over me. Three,
Three,
six,
six,
nine.
nine.
Absolutely. So you want to know more, you got to holler at the sister or ask the heart lady. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much,
Thank you,
Stephanie.
Heart
Thank you.
Lady.
Of
Thank
course,
you
of
so much for
course.
having me on your show. It's
You
been a
are,
pleasure.
you are so welcome. And so I'll make sure that I put those links as I post this down on YouTube. And don't forget to check us out for another wonderful episode about how you can heal yourself, take care of your heart, so your
Hmm.
heart will take care of you.